2020 is coming fast, and game developers are going to have to do some things a little different. This is an industry that's always evolving, and here's what we think about that. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 5 New Year's resolutions for game companies in 2020. Starting off at number 5. Let's just go ahead and say PC needs to be an important platform for developers in 2020. Their plans need to revolve a little bit more around PC, and that has nothing to do with various gripes that anybody has about developers and everything to do with the fact that it is a massively successful platform that countless publishers are seeing do well. This year we saw, for instance, Capcom release Resident Evil 2's remake and Devil May Cry 5, both of which knocked it out of the park sales-wise, and the previous year they had Monster Hunter World. It would be a huge mistake to pretend that this is some kind of coincidence. As it turns out, if you put out great games that people want to play on the PC, they play them on the PC. 343 Industries saw a ton of appreciation when they announced the Master Chief Collection for PC, to the point where they actually had to tweet out that they needed people to stop sending pizzas to the 343 offices. Ubisoft, who at one point said that they hated the PC platform due to its 93 to 95% piracy rate, a number they most likely just pulled right out of thin air. That's kind of excessive, I would say, for literally any era of PC gaming. It's their most profitable platform, and to pretend that this is anything other than a trend would just be wrong. Ubisoft published Anno 1800, it's great, and it was a sales beast. Obviously, console manufacturers don't necessarily need to do this, but anybody who's making games for multiple platforms and isn't considering PC an important platform at this point needs to revise that decision. It's flat out wrong. It's an important platform. Coming in at number 4, a resolution publishers absolutely need to do 100% is to say, I'm going to know where the line is for monetization. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to, but they need to. Let's talk about Fallout first, just a little bit. So, Fallout First is basically the prime example, the most visible and most obvious, most blunt, most disrespectful, and most ridiculous example of over-monetization. When people paid $60 for Fallout 76 a year ago, they did not expect, well, to have to start paying money for good features that aren't even actually that good. Let's ignore that part for a second. When you buy something, you expect to have something, right? That's what Fallout 76 was. It was a package that you purchased for a full price, and now a year later, there is a monthly fee for it in order to have private servers and a few other things that people have been requesting literally this entire time. The second half of it is those things are not what they have been promised to be. One of the things, an infinite storage box more or less, just basically destroys your items. You put stuff in it, and there's a chance that those items will be gone forever. Other fun thing is the so-called private servers that you were supposed to get upon paying the monthly fee actually turned out to be, not private servers. People opened up their servers to find that someone else had already been there, raided certain areas of items, which is, ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous thing. That was the main thing you were supposed to get out of this package. That was the big get. And we didn't get it. It wasn't there. This is not a thing. In 2020, I swear to God, if we have to talk about anything like this debacle, it will just be utterly ridiculous. As far as I'm concerned, stuff like Fallout First should be proving to us that so much of what we've been told about how things work, supply and demand, all that kind of nonsense, it's BS. They're feeding us a line. They're trying to herd us into these crappy products, and then they're trying to fleece us with them. No more of that in 2020, thanks. Coming in at number 3, and this probably sounds pretty obvious after the previous point, but more developers need to resolve not to have any microtransactions in their games at all. 3 words I can say without any explanation whatsoever, and everyone will just flat out get it, are the, outer, and the third word is worlds. Obsidian's frigging masterpiece does everything we want out of Fallout in a better game that's 20 hours long. It doesn't take up your whole life. It knows when to end the story. It's interesting the whole time. You remember all of the stuff in the game, and you don't pay for anything on top of the game. You just buy the game play the game, and be satisfied. We don't have that very much anymore, and maybe people need to understand that you don't have to spend all the money in the world to make a profit. Similarly, your profit doesn't have to also somehow be all the money in the world. That's an unsustainable situation, and games growing in this manner, just for the sake of doing it, rather than because there's some overarching vision, is damaging gaming as a whole. For me, The Outer Worlds is already worth more than the $60 I spent on it, considering the fact that I've spent $60 on a ton of other unsatisfying situations. Now that's, of course, speaking entirely relatively. We really don't need to see games cost more. The point here is really that we shouldn't be accepting all these unsatisfying experiences for the same price as some piece of gold like The Outer Worlds. And the only way that thing is going to stop is if these publishers and developers make the decision to stop it. If any of you guys are watching this video, make that resolution. I want to hear announcements at E3 2020 of more full experiences that end. I'm tired of you guys trying to addict me to stuff. Give me something to get invested in, build the tension, and then resolve it. Closure, not little $5 purchases that give me a new thing in the game. Moving in at number 2, let's talk resolutions around making games into movies. Specifically, let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, okay? Can you make the resolution not to try to change characters so much they're basically, for the most part, nothing like they were in the game to be in the movie ever again? Like, we're talking about a big blue hedgehog that runs faster than the speed of sound, right? That's the thing we're making a movie about. Why not just make him look like he does? Make him look like Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't get why it was necessary to try to do something else. The thing they made him into wasn't realistic. He doesn't fit into the real world any more than a slightly modified version of what Sonic typically looks like would. And people got so mad they literally had to delay the movie so they could change Sonic the Hedgehog, which definitely wasn't cool for the people working on the movie, who definitely had to redo the movie, like I said. Like, if a video game character is iconic, like, just use the icon as is. Like, if you can remember about 13, 14 years ago, they adapted Doom into a movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And other than the fact that it had the word Doom and they did a few first-person shots in the film, it was unrecognizable. It's the same problem. Just don't do this kind of, like, if you're gonna make a video game movie, commit to it. Just make a movie of the video game. I understand that it's not necessarily super easy to make a lot of video game stories into something that works for a movie, but I also feel like after the amount of times they've failed at doing something like this, and especially after Detective Pikachu, which managed to do a completely original Pokemon idea as a movie, and was probably the best video game movie, and didn't change Pokemon or their look at all. They were just like, we know this stuff doesn't look realistic, whatever. And the movie turned out to be pretty much the best video game movie. Just let it be the thing it is, you know? It's not that hard. And finally, number 1, this especially goes for publishers and developers who make series where they release every year. Maybe make the resolution not to downgrade the games. Or if this year's is gonna be much worse than last year's, just skip a year. Like, WWE 2K20 is horrifically bad. It is so messed up. In so many ways, is it just a broken game with glitches aplenty. Sometimes I almost wonder what the point is. Why not just do 2021? If it's gonna be this bad and you know it's going to get roasted, why not just skip the year, keep working on the game, and release it a year later in a state people want it in? WWE 2K19 wasn't perfect. It was generally received well by critics. Users had some gripes with it. However, it's pretty funny if you look at the Steam reviews. The overall reviews are mixed, but recent reviews are very positive and contain lines like, better than 2K20. You know why that is? It's because 2K20 is broken. 2K19 works. It's the product of actually doing the game right. And if you have a game that is going to make people say, well, last year's was a game that works and therefore automatically better, just skip the year. Don't downgrade the game. Don't make it so everybody's just like, what did you do? Make the resolution now, publishers. Just don't make the game. Delay it a year. I understand you're going to lose some money, but don't ruin your franchises, especially franchises that people generally like. They come back every year for a reason, you know? Long term, you lose more money ruining the name of the franchise. Just don't do it. What are some New Year's resolutions you think publishers and developers really need to adopt in 2020? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and if you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.